All right, welcome everybody. Quick little review here. Writing test review. As you know, your writing test coming up on Wednesday, April 3rd. So let's quickly go over a couple things you need to lock in on. Always remember, writing situation, you need to pay attention and key in on topic, audience, and purpose. Topic for a writing test is what you are writing about. Your topic will always be given to you on a writing test, so do not stress this. Another part of the writing situation is audience. That's the individuals you are writing to. Your audience will not be given to you on most writing tests, so do not stress this. In other words, it's not important for a writing test. In real life writing it is, not on a test. Also, part of the writing situation is purpose. This is what you need to key on because your purpose will always be given to you on a writing test. It's either going to be to inform, persuade, express, entertain. Those 4 big purposes that we talk about in our class. As far as entertain, that could be a comic strip or a joke book. Obviously, you're not going to be doing that on a state test, so don't worry about writing to entertain. Cross that off the list. Do not worry about this. In terms of expressive writing, you could have expressive writing in the form of telling a story or a narrative. You could be asked to narrate. It is possible you could get this purpose on a writing test. It's not likely, but possible, but be ready just in case. Just remember, you have the exposition, you have the conflict, you have rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. So if you're asked to tell a story creatively, just key in on all these components. It was a normal day until conflict happened. Rising action in relation to trying to overcome the conflict leads to a climax where the conflict is resolved. And then you have falling action leading to a resolution where everything is either back to normal or changed forever. Purpose could be also on a writing test to persuade. If you get this, we haven't talked about persuasive writing yet. That's the unit that we're moving into next. But if you do get this, you simply need to make a claim based on evidence presented and back it up. In other words, you'll be given 2 different scenarios, like what's better, Apple cell phones or Android. Make a claim based on the evidence presented, back it up. It is possible you could get this purpose on a writing test, so be ready. Which would be unfortunate because we haven't gone over it yet, but you can't go over everything before the test in April because there are certain things we haven't gotten to yet. And that's okay. Purpose is to inform. In terms of informative writing is the unit we're on right now. For informative writing, just make sure you are following the instructions to know your precise purpose. You could have classification where you inform your writer of how subjects, things, or ideas that have shared characteristics are distinct and ultimately different, like how do they fit in different categories. For example, an essay classifying types of dogs, hunting dogs versus sled dogs versus service dogs, or that classify video games as action games, puzzle games, or simulation games. Purpose strategies in informative writing could be to compare contrast. That's what we're doing right now. This informs your reader how 2 or more things are alike and or how they are different or both. We usually focus on either similarities or differences in one or the other in our compare contrast writing. You could do cause and effect, informing readers why something happened, why something exists, or what happened as a direct result of an idea or action. In other words, A happened as a result of B. An example would be a magazine article explaining how a nuclear reactor meltdown in Russia led to millions of citizens dying or getting sick as a result. It is a cause and effect informative writing strategy or purpose. We could also do chronological sequence. Chronology just means time, so this would be informing readers of the order of events. Say, for example, an essay explaining the progression of the women's rights movement in the United States or the history of space exploration would involve a sequence of events that just follow one after the other. They're not necessarily cause and effect. They're not comparing and contrast how they're similar. These are just two separate topics. You might be asked to write about one and just say, hey, these are the things that happen in order. This would be what you would find in a history textbook. Another possibility with informational writing could be definition, simply informing readers what a word or concept means. Very unlikely to get this on a state test, but it could happen. In this situation, you'd just be given an explanation of what something means, like, for example, maybe photosynthesis, what it is not, how it impacts the world. This would be something out of maybe a science textbook or an article on the subject. So think about topic, audience, purpose. Really key in on purpose when it comes to informative writing or whatever you're asked to do. Now, to know what your purpose, you're going to have to follow instructions on the test very carefully and very precisely. For example, I gave you guys the America's Unique Roadside Attractions benchmark assessment at the end of last year. And I had you guys follow the prompt where it says below, you read this. This will be something typical to what you'll do on the test. You'll read an article, and then you'll get the writing prompt where it says, on the lines provided on the following pages, write a formal essay that includes a clear introduction, body, and conclusion. That's something that's standard in informative writing. You're always going to have an introduction that broadly introduces the topic that you're talking about, writing about. You're always going to have a conclusion that wraps everything up at the end. And the body sections, those 2 to 3 sections of body, are going to be where you give those examples, and either by way of explanation or chronology or cause and effect or compare contrast, like we're doing in our class right now. So explain the factors that led to the creation of America's Unique Roadside Attractions is what this is talking about. So it's talking, when it says explain the factors that led to the creation of America's Unique Roadside Attractions, it's essentially talking about cause and effect. What causes resulted in the effect of these roadside attractions? They didn't just happen out of nowhere. It's not a chronology. We're not just talking about this happened and there's no connection. It's just following a sequence of events. No, there's a direct cause and effect here. The fact that we have unique roadside attractions, if you read this article, and I'll attach it in this assignment for you to review, means that certain things happen that led to the need for roadside attractions to be built and to attract people that were on the highway. And it was actually, as you'll find in the article, it was the Great Depression in conjunction with America's car culture that came about in the 1920s with the invention and selling of the automobile, popularizing of the automobile, that led to that. So here is probably details you will not get in the instructions for your state test. It says your essay should highlight the impact of the car revolution and the Great Depression on the creation of these attractions, and include specific examples of the attractions with detailed descriptions of each. Explain how the attractions helped businesses and how they became symbols of America's success in difficult times. You're probably not going to get this on the state test instructions. You're just going to have them ask, or they're just going to ask you to write a formal essay where you clearly follow whatever that purpose is, that cause and effect, explanation, or possibly a compare contrast or even definition. I'm asking you guys to get in the habit of writing 5 paragraphs, each paragraph 3 to 5 sentences, and put in those appropriate transition words. Have everything flow together as best you can. It's tough to do just in one sitting with the pressure of a state test on you, but just review these articles, review what we're doing in class right now with informative writing. Take a quick peek at, remember what I tell you guys all the time, if you can identify what works in writing, you can imitate it and create it yourself. So that's what you're looking to pull off here for the state test. Just do what we've been doing all year long. Lock in on your topic, lock in on your purpose, follow the instructions, and do the best you can. And if nothing else, just make sure you have that introduction, the body paragraphs, and the conclusion if it's an informative writing. And have everything flow together. Use complete sentences, punctuation. Those are important. You lose points for not including those. Let's get those complete sentences in that we've been working on for the last 2 years and all of this year. And if it's a narrative, just give me that narrative arc and tell a story. We've been doing it all year long. You guys have got this. Good luck.